All right, praising God for, among other things, mercy. Let's call the next 3 chapters actually gold. Not so much for the gold that King Nebuchadnezzar has, but the gold that he seems to represent in this chapter. It starts off with a very troubling dream, troubling the king, where King Nebuchadnezzar in his 2nd year is going to have a dream. As we mentioned, that troubles him so much that he calls the wise men in to offer an interpretation. The wise men come in and say, "Tell us the dream," to which King Nebuchadnezzar is going to respond, "No, you tell me." To which the wise men are going to be like, "We interpret dreams." And yeah. At which point he's going to be like, "No, you are simply going to tell me whatever it is you think that I want to hear after I tell you the dream. The only way I can know you're legitimate is for you, if you are divine or having some sort of divine wisdom, to divinely tell me what I dreamed and give me the interpretation." To which the wise men are going to respond. Of course, this is all my paraphrased retelling of the chapter. Who can really do that? At which point the king's going to be like, "I don't care." Which leads to a relatively subtle quote that caught my attention this time, where he says, "No, you purpose until the times change to tell me lying things and pass on lying words about what it is you think that I have dreamed." And that's going to be important, because "until the times change" is going to be a phrase that comes up again in Daniel's statement, because Daniel is going to be important as he's one of the wise men. And so when the word gets back to Daniel, he realizes his life is in jeopardy as well. He, however, sends word to the king, "Just give us some time." And so the king is going to respect Daniel's request, give him some time, at which point Daniel's going to go to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and say, "Y'all need to pray, or at least seek God's mercy," which they do, responding or provoking God seemingly to show them mercy by giving them the answer they request. At which point Daniel is going to thank God directly, seek the presence of the king, which he will get, at which point the king will ask him, "Do you have an answer?" At which point Daniel will be like, "I don't have an answer, but God does. And he's the only one who can really answer the challenging question you have posed to the wise men. However, he did give me this response. And the response is letting the king know his dream of a statue with 4 parts, I guess, a head of gold representing King Nebuchadnezzar, a body or chest and arms of silver, a midsection and thighs of bronze, followed by legs of iron and feet partially mixed with clay and iron, with a stone coming out of a rock not cut with human hands that hits the feet of the statue and seems to break it and topple it. The interpretation of the dream is, as we said, Nebuchadnezzar is the head of gold, to be followed by a kingdom, a lesser kingdom of silver, which will then be followed by a kingdom of bronze, only to be followed by a kingdom of iron, a material that breaks the metals or the materials of the previous kingdoms. However, the stone cut from the mountain, but not by any human hand, breaks all the materials to set up a kingdom that will never end. After the king hears the interpretation, he is no longer angry. He is stunned enough to bow before Daniel and acknowledge that the God he serves is the only one the king believes who can answer the tall task that Nebuchadnezzar has given to his wise men. And accordingly, he makes good on his promise too. If one of the wise men could actually interpret the dream instead of killing them all, he's going to reward him greatly. And beyond rewarding Daniel, he is going to make him a ruler over the province of Babylon and chief over the wise men, or chief prefect over the wise men. Daniel, in turn, is going to give credit to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego by asking the king to actually make them at least functional chiefs over the province of Babylon, as Daniel is going to stay in the presence of the king, remaining in the king's court. The thing that might have most caught my attention was the thing we titled the chapter after, and that is the gold that Nebuchadnezzar seems to represent. The humility that he shows in his time of desperation is going to be something that is going to help preserve him later on, as he clings to the portion of this dream that seems to describe him, as we said, as the kingdom of gold, because in the next chapter, that is going to seem to go to his head as he's going to make a statue of gold in honor of himself, quite possibly placing too much emphasis on God himself, recognizing Nebuchadnezzar as the head of gold, and too little emphasis on the part of the dream that suggests his kingdom is actually going to fall.